Alright, James Gunn, I love the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Let's see what you do with the Suicide Squad.
2 hours later.
Oh my god. Wow. Hey film fans, I'm Jack Benner and welcome to my review of The Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad is a new standalone sequel to the 2016 Suicide Squad film and is now the 11th film in the DCEU. And this film is written and directed by James Gunn, or as the trailer said, from the horribly beautiful mind of James Gunn, to which I love that. The cast, you got Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Viola Davis, Sylvester Stallone as a shark, and many others. The story of the Suicide Squad is a team of supervillains, also known as Task Force X, consisting of Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, Ratcatcher 2, Polka Dot Man, King Shark, and many others, are assigned to destroy every trace of an incoming threat known as Project Starfish. Now my thoughts on the 2016 Suicide Squad movie, I really don't like that movie. That movie was such a massive disappointment and a waste of potential. The great cast it had, the awesome trailers, tonally inconsistent, jumbled story that is all over the place, mediocre effects, laughably awful villain, choppy as heck editing, and Jared Leto's Joker I was just not a fan of. And that is still to date my least favorite film in the DCEU. I wasn't sure about another Suicide Squad movie happening until James Gunn was brought in as writer and director. That sold me. I love James Gunn. He is such a talented writer and director. He knows how to make funny and entertaining movies. I still love Guardians of the Galaxy, still in my top 10 favorite MCU movies. Still loved what it was able to accomplish for the MCU at the time, being something different, fresh, and unique. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, I think Guardians Volume 2 is the most underrated MCU movie. I love it. In case you don't know, he was brought in to direct this film after he was fired from Marvel. And you may remember that situation in 2018 where someone brought up those offensive tweets that were 10 years ago. But luckily, Marvel hired him back for Guardians Volume 3 in 2023, to which I can't wait. This and Eternals were my most anticipated comic book movies of the year. I love that it was going to be a standalone sequel, the interesting and obscure new characters that James Gunn was bringing in. I love the cast. The trailers were awesome, they were super funny, exciting, and really entertaining. The great reviews before this movie came out got me even more excited than before. This was my most anticipated movie of the summer. I was so eager to see it. And now that I've seen it recently, and remember when I told you that Shazam was my favorite film in the DCEU? Well, it's been topped. That's right, The Suicide Squad was just pure awesomeness. I loved it. James Gunn, I am so glad he was given the opportunity to make this movie and given full creative control. Just terrific. First, the cast is fantastic all around. The cast was so good that it was really hard for me to choose who was the main standout in this movie. With this and Birds of Prey, I can confirm Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is perfect casting. She's still funny and charismatic, she's excellent in the action scenes. And after this movie, I want to see Margot Robbie play Harley Quinn forever. Idris Elba as Bloodsport was definitely one of my favorite characters in this film. I thought he was BA, he had some funny lines, but he also had a good emotional core with his character, which I really liked. And I did like Idris Elba as Heimdall in the Thor movies, but I'm glad this was the comic book role for Idris Elba to really shine in. And this is so far the best I've seen John Cena as the Peacemaker. He was great here. Comedic wise, action wise, and I can tell there is a lot more to explore with this character, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this character in his TV series next year on HBO Max. I wasn't a fan of Rick Flag in the first movie, he was kind of bland, but I'm happy to say he is much better here. He still had that tough personality he had in the original, but luckily he has more of a sense of humor and I liked him more this time around. Another returning character from the first, Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, she was great here. She was definitely more ruthless and intimidating. 3 of the new characters that were my favorite. 1, King Shark, voiced by Sylvester Stallone. So hilarious, he just has this kind personality, he's lovable. And also when he eats people, oh boy, yeah, it's pretty brutal. But he also has a heart with his character, which surprised me. What could be my favorite character in this film was Ratcatcher 2. She was definitely the heart of this film. I really liked her backstory, and she was great in this film. And one of the obscure characters I was interested to see was Polka Dot Man. And before watching this, I thought, okay, James Gunn, I trust you, but how could you make this character work? And he really did make this character work. He really had a tragic backstory that made me care about him, and David Dastmalchian did a really good job in the role. A lot of credit goes to James Gunn. He did a terrific job directing. He really did a great job filming the action. You could see everything, no shaky cam. Really liked the approach he took with the Suicide Squad of making like a grounded war movie. While I thought the CGI was amazing in both Guardians films, I really liked that James Gunn used a majority of practical effects, sets, and locations in this film that looked great. And some of the CGI looked really good too on King Shark and Starro. There are many terrific action scenes in this movie. The opening action scene, that right there set the tone for this movie and let you know what you're in for. And there was an action scene with Harley Quinn that was definitely one of the highlights of the film with a great song choice. And there was a fight scene with the Peacemaker. Don't want to get into spoilers, but that was kind of brutal. And this movie is rated R, and it goes for it. There is so much gore in this movie, a lot of shocking violence. And there were definitely moments that made me go like this, oh crap! I really felt like the R rating helped with the tension of this film and the stakes, and that no one is safe, that any character, no matter how big or small they are, they could die. And this movie is hilarious. This is quite honestly the funniest DC movie. The lines or back and forth dialogue that had me laughing out loud. And there are some moments of James Gunn's dark comedy if you're familiar with his work before Guardians of the Galaxy. And there was one moment of dark comedy that I thought was just so funny, where Bloodsport and Peacemaker were trying to one-up each other. That was just brilliant, like, oh my god. But surprisingly, what worked about the Suicide Squad was the heart. And luckily, James Gunn knew how to balance the comedy and the heart in the right places. Because some of the characters are developed so well, I am just on the edge of my seat throughout this movie whether they'll make it out or not. And one more thing, this movie is unpredictable. There were some pleasant twists and turns that I didn't see coming, and that unpredictability really helps keep the tension and the stakes going. And when I first saw the Red Band trailer, I was surprised to see Starro and excited to see him, and he definitely made for a good threat in the climax. I'm really glad they went with him. As for issues or nitpicks, the only one I could think of is when in the middle of the film when Harley Quinn is meeting with someone. While not bad, I did feel like that part dragged a bit and was waiting for it to pick up. Luckily it did. But overall, the Suicide Squad was not only as great as I was hoping it would be, it managed to surprise me on so many levels. Hilarious, entertaining throughout, insane, unpredictable, and surprisingly heartfelt. This is one of my favorite DC movies in years, as well as one of my favorite R-rated comic book movies. Sadly, this movie has been underperforming at the box office. It could due to both in theaters and HBO Max or rising cases. Either way you watch this movie, it is in theaters and also on HBO Max. Please go see it in theaters. It deserves your money. And overall, I am going to give The Suicide Squad 4.5 stars out of 5 an A. Definitely the best film in the DCEU, and this and The Mitchells vs. the Machines are so far my favorite films of 2021. So what do you guys think of The Suicide Squad? Do you agree? Disagree with me? Let me know below. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new here. It really means a lot. I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.